they were improvising, and it just like gave the song like a whole new like feeling, and I literally like started crying. Like I got like the chills, and I like got all like emotional about it, and I was like,
that's awesome.
Damn, like this is gonna be like something.
Hello, sound seekers. Welcome to another insightful installment of Sound for Thought, a podcast about why people make music. I am your host, Andrew Schultz from Redefining Records. We've got an exciting episode for you today featuring my interview with the considerably talented and fantastic Chloe Gallardo. She is a dream rock, indie pop singer-songwriter from Orange County, Southern California. Her new single, Cutting It Close, is out now, and you'll actually hear that track in just a few moments before we get into the interview. Her upcoming album, Defamator, is being polished up as we speak, as you'll hear in the episode. Chloe is hard at work in the studio to try to get that album out sometime next year. We had a terrific conversation about how she grew up in a musical family, how she had the opportunity to see her parents perform live, how that impacted her sound and her music. We talked about her early aspirations to act and be a Disney Channel actress, and how she eventually gave that up to pursue music full-time. We talk about how living in Orange County has impacted her sound. We talk about self-promotion on social media, kind of the necessity of using social media for indie artists these days. And she also gives some tips on how she breaks out of a writer's block. We learn a bit more about Chloe's bandmates, how she collaborates with her brother, her producers, all of the sonic influences on her new album, and most importantly, as always, Chloe explains why she makes music. You can find all of Chloe's music on Spotify, Apple Music, etc., any of the streaming platforms. You can follow her on Instagram at Cloferd, that's CHLOFERD. And her website is chloegallardo.com. Pretty easy to find. Go check it out. You can keep up with this podcast, Sound for Thought, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., any of those streaming platforms. Give us a follow on Instagram at Redefining Records to keep up with new episodes, other cool music discovery content, including our sister podcast, Bands, Beers, and Buzzwords with John Pagliasotti of Delta Dagger. We're also working hard on a special Halloween edition Bands, Beers, and Buzzwords episode this week that will hopefully come out on Halloween, so keep an eye out for that. Alright, that's it for the intro. Short and sweet. Stay safe, be kind, and keep making cool shit. Enjoy the show. This track's called Cutting It Close by Chloe Gallardo on Sound for Thought. Anyway, thanks for coming on the show today. I'm excited to talk to you. I discovered your music through Sean of The Shakes, who I interviewed like a few weeks back, and I listened to your music and it was really cool. So excited to talk today. What have you been up to? How's your morning going?
Oh man, if you can hear those dogs in the background, I'm so sorry.
No. We encourage dog sounds on this podcast.
Okay, awesome. My morning has been pretty slow. I've been so busy like the past month. I feel like I'm working on an album right now.
Yeah.
So like, and I also have 2 jobs. So when I'm not doing the 2 jobs, I'm like doing the album. And so any chance I get to like sleep in a little bit, I do. So I did do that today.
Well, that's nice. I'm glad you got to sleep in and have a little bit of a slower morning today.
Yeah.
We'll get to the album in a second, but I'm always really curious what musicians have as like their jobs, as their second jobs.
Yeah. I'm a nanny, so that's like my primary one. I nanny for 2 really cool, like really great kids. And then I also work at a restaurant. It's like a sandwich place.
Nice.
Super glamorous.
Hey, that's like so many people have to do that. That's just like part of the artist grind.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy either of those? It sounds like the nanny one, maybe.
Yeah, I love the family that I work for. I feel like they're like my second family. But, you know, restaurant job, I've been working in like the food industry since I was like 15 and a half or 16. So it can get a little annoying. Yeah,
that's so tough because, I mean, I've only done it like briefly for like one summer. I was a waiter and it was a grind. I don't think people who don't work in the service industry realize how exhausting it is.
Yeah, truly. I feel like everyone should try it a little bit just so they can like be nice to people that serve them.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the album, I believe. I saw in an article it's going to be called Defamator.
Defamator, yeah.
Defamator. I can pronounce words.
That's okay. I don't think it's actually like a real word, so I'm kind of just choosing how to say it.
It's a cool word. I like it a lot. Either way, either pronunciation is good. So what's the timeline on that? Well, how's it looking so far?
Yeah, so I'm kind of just getting started on it. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago was like our first day with like the studio musicians coming in. And like before that, we were just doing a bunch of pre-production stuff. So like up until a couple days ago, like it was kind of just like an idea. And now it's like coming to life. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
Hell yeah.
But I don't even know like when we're going to be done because we're kind of taking the approach of like, getting all like the basics down and then like sitting on it and seeing like what we need to add to it instead of kind of like mapping it out and like making it super like meticulous.
Yeah.
So it's cool to do that approach, but it's also like I don't have like a deadline or anything. So that gives me like a little bit of anxiety, but like I'm just trying to like go with it. But hopefully we'll be done like within the next month. I'm thinking that's what's going to happen.
That's cool. I think as long as you have like a rough idea, then the positives of not setting the hard deadline can be good. As long as it's not like we'll finish maybe in the next 2 years type of thing.
Right. Oh
that would drive me crazy.
That would drive me insane.
But you just put out that new single, Cutting It Close, which was really cool. I watched the music video, which was very cool as well. I was wondering where the big head inspiration came from. I've seen it in like a few different places where people use the big head thing, and I was wondering what made you do that.
Yeah, so kind of like the creative direction came from a friend of mine who's in Skin Mag. His name's Davis Stewart.
Yeah, nice.
He has been like kind of dabbling in like directing, and so he offered to direct that for me, and I was just like, you know what, I like your like creative direction. Like you can just do whatever you want with it. And like the only thing I gave him was that I had this pink dress that I had bought, and I was like, I think this could be cool. So that was like my only input, and then the rest was like totally on him. But it was definitely like inspired by like a lot of like David Lynch stuff. And like I think I'm like such a fake fan, but there's a movie with a big head. I think it's called Frank.
Yeah. I love that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, but he definitely took a lot of inspiration from that for sure.
Yeah. I was low-key that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
You should definitely watch it. It's a great movie for anyone who is a musician, especially.
Yeah, it's on my list. I'm just, busy.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like you have no time to watch movies. So
yeah.
That's okay. You're off the hook. Well, cool. That sounds really cool. Yeah. Sean mentioned Skin Mag as well as somebody I should talk to. So hopefully I'll be able to talk to him at some point too, them.
Yeah, I actually don't even know like what they're doing, if they're a band anymore.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, like because I listened to Sean's episode a little bit, and when he said Skin Mag, I was like, oh, I wonder like what they're doing, because I don't know if they're like gonna ever put out new music again. But I mean, if they do, that'd be cool, because they're like very talented people.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll have to find out at some point.
Yeah.
That's funny, though. Well, I always like to get an idea early on in the interview of kind of how you got into music. I'm sure you've told the story a few times, but, from a young age, like when you were a kid, was there somebody in your life, whether it be your parents or a sibling or family member, friend, who really got you into music?
Yeah. Both my parents actually are musicians. So cool. That definitely had an influence on me from like an early age. There's always been like instruments around the house, and like my parents, especially like my dad, he's really big on like showing me new music, especially like when I was little. And like I remember he got us our one condition for like getting an iPod, like me and my brother, was that he had to put music on it. So he put like all like the good like Beatles albums and stuff on there. And but yeah, I've always been like around music and like been like performing and just like seeing my parents perform. So I think I always kind of thought like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna do something like this like when I'm older.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I don't know too many people who have had the opportunity to see their parents perform. So like, what do they do exactly?
So my dad, I kind of grew up more so watching my mom perform with my stepdad, and because they do like more of like an acoustic, like folk kind of vibe. And so I would like go with them to like their little like open mics or like little coffee shops where they booked little gigs. And then my dad's music is a little more like intense, and like he tends to play at like bars and stuff. So like, didn't really go to a lot of those until like I was a little bit older, but he's more into like an alt rock kind of guy. Heavy stuff, talks about emotional stuff. But yeah, it was kind of funny, like going to his first show after like knowing that he just would go and perform and I couldn't see him. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I get it. Like, I get why.
I didn't need to see this for a while.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's really cool, though. Do you think that it sounds like probably yes, but do you think that they've had an influence on the type of music that you write?
I think so. It's kind of funny. Like, I've always been a pretty good 50-50 split of both of my parents. And like, my mom is like writes super folky, like songwriter stuff. And then my dad, again, is like more like into the rock alternative stuff. And I'm like here in the middle with like indie rock. So yeah, I think like lyrics wise, I definitely got that from my mom. And then like my dad, I probably have more of like the heavier, like full band influence, which is kind of cool because this newer album that I'm working on has more of like a more of like a rock, like heavier rock feel to it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really like my favorite song of yours that I listened to was the 20-fold song, which kind of had that heaviness at the end or about halfway through, which I really love.
Yeah, that one's such a cool song. I wish it was more popular.
Me too. Yeah, well, maybe it will be. We'll tell people,
maybe.
Go listen to, I can direct my whole 50 followers to go listen to 20-fold right now.
I hate that I'm still wide awake and I feel same.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, was there a point in your life where music changed from being something that was a hobby to being something that you actually wanted to pursue, or did you always know you were just going to keep doing it?
That's a good question. I don't really remember a time where I didn't think I was going to do something related to performing or singing. Mm-hmm. I kind of was I went through a phase as a child where I was in musical theater, and I was I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be the star of every show, and I want to be on Disney Channel. And I was oh wait, I really don't want to do that at all. And I think it kind of changed. I hope the Disney Channel part definitely changed before high school, but the performing an acting part, because I thought I was going to be an actress and a singer for a while. And then I got to high school and saw the musical theater scene, and I was I don't think I really fit into this.
Yeah.
And so then I was maybe I'll just do my own thing with just music. And then it was a weird transition into instead of singing and performing as a character, I had to sing and perform as myself and sing about things that meant a lot to me. And I was ooh, this is so different, but
yeah,
I like it. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of the skills or experience you got from doing acting early on probably helps you on stage and stuff, right?
Yeah, people have always told me I seem really comfortable when I'm on stage, which is a relief to me because I literally feel I'm going to shit my pants half the time. But every time that even when I'm the most nervous, people will be you're so calm up there, and I'm dude, I'm glad you think so, because I'm dying.
That's great. As long as you look calm, that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny. I've always thought performing is really just fake it till you make it.
For sure.
I just love it so much. I'm just pretend like you're confident, even though I don't know anybody who truly is confident on stage. So, nobody I've met. I'm sure there's people, but some people are just better at pretending.
Exactly. So. That's the truth.
Well, nice. And do you ever think you'll go back to acting? Does it interest you at all anymore?
Honestly, no. I think I'm really bad at it. I think it's good that I left that part of my life behind.
All right. That's good then. Well, I'm always curious. You brought up acting, and we talked about your jobs, plural, a little bit. Mm-hmm. One question I always ask at some point is, what do you enjoy doing outside of music? Do you have any hobbies or stuff like that you'd like to do to take your mind off music? Sounds like you don't have much time, free time. But
yeah. I really like to travel. If I ever get a free weekend or something, I'll try to go somewhere. My mom lives out in Joshua Tree, so
sick.
It's nice. I'm actually going there today. But it's nice to kind of get away a little bit. And I also love going up to San Francisco. I have a bunch of friends up there. But yeah, I usually if I have a free second, traveling is my go-to thing.
That's cool. Yeah, Joshua Tree is a great place to retreat to and kind of change your mindset and stuff. Maybe do psychedelic drugs. Who knows?
It's a really good reset for sure.
I was kind of curious to talk about this actually. So you're based in Orange County still, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Full time.
Yep.
How do you think? Did you grow up there?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Me too. Yeah. I'm in Seattle now, but I grew up in Huntington.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, up until a couple of years ago, college I was in Santa Barbara, moved to Seattle about 1 year ago.
Okay.
But I was curious how you think growing up in Orange County impacted your music versus maybe growing up somewhere else. Like, you have a very indie rock, folksy, melancholic sound, I think is fair to say. Some people from outside of Southern California might be confused as to why, you live in this beautiful sunny place and you don't, but your music's like a little bit on the darker side. Do you think that is like a juxtaposition that came out because like you're trying to get yourself outside of this space, or what do you think about that?
That is like a really good question. Yeah, I mean, I hate Orange County. So
there we go. Yeah.
That's like a good reflection of my music. Yeah, I grew up in Aliso Viejo.
Okay.
And just like suburby, like really close to Dana Point, those people. Interesting.
Yes, I know what you mean.
I don't know, my high school like didn't really have a lot of like band stuff going on or like music stuff that I was into.
Yeah.
So I always kind of felt like, I hated high school. Like I never felt like I fit in, and just, I don't know, like even the people that I will still like run into in Orange County, I'm like, ugh, like people who like want to like stay in Orange County really like concern me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, especially like you can maybe like end up back in Orange County, but like if you don't want to like go out and like experience a different place, like that's concerning to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I feel like Orange County is very like punk. Like there's a huge punk scene.
Yeah, you're right.
And so it's interesting trying to navigate like playing shows with like the type of music that I make and then like the type of music that's pretty prevalent in this area. But yeah, I mean, I had a rough time growing up in Orange County, so that definitely probably shows in my lyrics.
Yeah, no, that's really, I'm glad you shared all that. That makes sense. And what is keeping you staying there? I mean, why don't you move to LA like most people, or move to San Francisco or something like that?
I was living in LA for a bit.
Okay.
And then pandemic stuff had to come back home. So I am currently in Irvine with my dad. And it's been cool. It's been like over a year back home. So like I'm ready to get out again. And I'm moving early next year back up to LA. So cool. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I moved back home with my parents after I graduated for a while too. And there's a ticking time going by, like how long you can survive in your parents' house. When you move back in, you're like, this is nice, but also I have to get out.
Yeah. Especially after like being on your own, and then you're coming back and you're like, oh, where did my freedom go? What's going on?
Yeah. Even with the coolest parents, you still feel that. So,
yeah.
Well, nice. That's really cool. Who are your biggest influences today? I saw some of them kind of on your Spotify page or your bio. Men I Trust, Julia Jacklin, Phoebe Bridgers. Is there anything you're listening to that your listeners might not expect you to be into?
It's actually funny. I just took all those like influences down.
Okay. Well, this is good then. We'll get the updated version.
Yeah. Cause I was like talking to my manager that was like posting it, and she was like, do you want to like change the people that you're influenced by, or you just want to take it out completely? And I was like, I just want to take it out. Cause like a lot of the stuff I'm being influenced by right now is like older stuff, which is like not anything, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of weird to put that in like your Spotify bio if people are trying to figure out like if they're into one new indie artist and then they find me, like I feel like they'd be like, oh, who are these people? But been listening to this band called Broadcast a lot.
Okay.
my album is very like 90s influenced for sure.
Cool.
So they're from the 90s. I think the lead singer actually died, which is really sad.
Oh.
Anika is cool. Annika. I've been listening to a lot of her. She's super, like, again, 90s.
Yeah.
What else? My producer put me onto like this band called Prefab Sprout.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. But yeah, I haven't been listening to a lot of like newer stuff recently, just because we're trying to kind of like stick to one like direction. One Direction, that's funny. But definitely not influenced by One Direction. Love them.
I figured.
But yeah, also like Angel Olsen, I love her.
Yeah,
so great. Much. But like as far as stuff that people wouldn't expect, I also listen to a lot of like I've been into a lot of post-punk, which Very is cool. Funny because I don't think that reflects at all in my music. But there's this band Crack Cloud. They're cool. Also, Baxter Dury is really cool. He's not post-punk, but he's like synth pop, but he's super cool and he sounds like he should be punk because he's just kind of an asshole. But here comes a cocaine man. Here comes a man. We were friendly small. Yeah, I've been dabbling. I've been kind of like going into different genres recently that I don't normally go into, and so it's been like a fun little journey for me.
Well, that's perfect. I'm glad I asked then. Yeah, we got the updated version.
Yeah.
And probably more relevant to the music that you're going to put out.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned like kind of trying to be more 90s with your sound. That's something I think has been somewhat trending lately. Is that something you're cognizant of, that you're doing on purpose to just sort of go with that trend of kind of the resurgence of 90s, early 2000s sounds?
I think maybe it was like a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
Do you know the band Slow Pulp?
Yeah.
They're doing like a lot of like 90s stuff. And I remember like when I was making my demos for this album, we were listening to their new album a lot. It's beauty I turned down. I kept on holding out for the downside before I knew. But I don't know. It's like there definitely is a trend of like kind of going back to the 90s and like that whole sound. But I also have never felt like I've been like making music like truer to how I want it to sound until now. So
yeah,
I think it's like a little bit of both where I'm kind of like finding what I like the sound I want, but also I guess it's probably influenced by everything else that's coming out right now.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for both things to sort of happen together because there's no avoiding just hearing, what's happening around you and also, making what you want to make and the result will be a combination. So that's cool. Speaking of like trends and like keeping up with the way music is changing and stuff, I kind of wanted to talk to you about, which I talked to a lot of musicians about, just the act of being on social media. Like, are you comfortable with like promoting your own music on social media? I know some bands like just hate doing it. They outsource it to a manager or whatever, but what is your take on kind of the way, indie artists like yourself have to, post stuff on social media to stay relevant and stuff?
Yeah, I hate social media so much. The only platform I'm like super active on is Instagram.
Yeah.
And even then it's like, I'm not even that active. I'm trying to be better about it, but like, it's dumb that I even have to try to be better at that. But yeah, I don't have like a TikTok. I have a Twitter, but it's more just like, I just post random shit on there. Like, but I mean, I'm comfortable like promoting my own stuff on social media in like a way that I like am proud of. Like I like Instagram I'm super comfortable with because I can like post like whatever a cool, like, because I'm really into like the visual side of my like artistry as well. So it's cool to like post stuff on Instagram and like share like the vision with other people. But as far as like TikTok and like stuff goes, I can't do that. I don't think I am like, I have the charisma for that type of promotion. Like the people that are like, go stream my single. Like I admire them so much because I could not do that like naturally. Like that just does not come to me in the way that it comes to them.
Yeah. TikTok especially is one that I guess it's, I don't know, maybe we're a little bit older than the group that really got it going. Mm-hmm. But it's just it's such a black box for me. Like, I mean, I go on it occasionally and see stuff, but like, I just can't imagine being on it to promote my own music or how you use it. Clearly, like some artists and musicians are finding success through it is kind of why I'm curious about it, because it seems like it can be a good platform, not necessarily for self-promotion, but like your music can catch on. It is awesome how musically focused the content is. Mm-hmm. But I just like the idea of trying to use it purposely and like intentionally to promote your music sounds really hard to me. Yeah,
I don't think I could ever get to that point, because I also just like, I don't love like speaking and being like, go listen to this, like this is, I'm really proud of this, like that's uncomfortable to me. Like when I like type it out on Instagram, like it's a few drafts before it like gets to that point.
Yeah.
And even like when I'm on stage, like I can't do like stage banter. Like I'm really bad at talking about myself. So like, it's just not in my, it's not part of who I am.
I get you. Yeah. Stage banter is also a super hard skill. I really admire people who can just like get up there and say interesting, funny, good things.
Or like tell jokes and stuff. I'm like, dude, I can't do that. It's just, I was like advised to just talk as little as possible.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best move. Like if you're not like super good at it, then just don't do it too much, probably. That makes sense.
I kept just like saying the dumbest shit, and then my bandmates were just like, maybe just like don't say anything. And I was like, you know what? Thank you for giving me permission to not speak, because I will happily do that.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear more about your bandmates. Have you been playing with the same people for a while, or has it been a rotating cast?
It's primarily like the rhythm section has stayed the same for sure. My brother is my drummer.
Oh, cool.
And then his friend, who's also now my friend at this point, but he originally came into the band because he's my brother's friend. His name's Kyle. He plays bass, and they're both very talented. Like they work very, very well together. And then I play like rhythm guitar and I sing. My friend Desiree just joined the band, and she's playing keyboard, which is cool.
Yeah.
To have another girl in the band. And then my lead guitarist just changed to my friend Adrian, and he's great. So talented. I'm very happy. He's helping me with my album too. So we're a good little duo.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's it like playing and collaborating with your brother?
It's good. My brother and I are really close in age. We're 15 months apart. So
oh wow, okay.
We definitely like butt heads at times, but not even in like a we're arguing kind of way. It's more just like he'll like hurt my feelings by saying that I'm like pitchy or something, and I take it like really personally. But also my brother's just like such a genius, like a musical genius, and has like perfect pitch and like is very technically trained. Right. And I'm not at all. So like I think that's like our main difference when we're practicing, and I think something sounds like okay, but he's like absolutely not, like that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's just relax a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that can
it's
be
like,
good and bad.
yeah, we never like argue, especially not in front of like bandmates or whatever. But sometimes I'll just be like, oh, whatever. Like he just kind of bummed me out today, but I'll get over it. I grew up with it. I'm fine.
Yeah. But also he takes you to another level of quality sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
He's
good.
pushing us to be better.
Yeah. 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 You got to find the balance there for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's really cool. Do you have any other siblings or is it just the two of you?
He's my only biological sibling, and then I have a few step siblings as well from my mom and my dad. They both got remarried.
Is everyone musical?
My stepsister plays the bass. She actually lives in Washington.
Oh, cool.
But she's very like keeps to herself. Like she's super, super talented too, but just like loves to just figure things out on her own. Yeah. So she has like loop pedals and just like makes cool shit on her own.
Nice. So when you are writing music or working on a new song, how do you know when something is good? Is there something that like clicks in your brain or certain way you go about it when you know like this is going to be a good song versus I need to throw this one in the trash? Usually
it's just like a feeling that I get. I don't know how to like describe it, but I'll like, because I write like a lot, and most of the time if I find myself kind of like lacking the motivation to like finish, because like I like to write like at least like the basic part of a song, like lyrics, melody, like chord progressions, like all in one day, just while I have like the momentum going. Yeah. There'll be times where I'm like sitting down and I'm like trying to like think of lyrics and just like nothing's coming to me, or like it just doesn't sound like, it doesn't have like that quality that I'm looking for. Yeah. And so then I'll just kind of like give up on it. Like I record everything onto like my phone, or like I write it down, but yeah, most of the time if I abandon ship like mid song, I'll never go back to it. And then the songs that usually have like that quality where I'm like, okay, this is good. It's like, I'll write it in like 5 minutes and I just like really like get what I need to say out there. And then I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then I'll immediately send it to like everyone that I know. And I'll be like, look what I just did. Nice. And then if they have a good response, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm keeping this and I'm going to work with it. That's great. No, I love it. It's good to get feedback. I mean, not everyone does that. I think if you're really serious about it, you got to get some feedback and get some input from outside sources. Yeah, it's funny because I feel like a lot of people struggle with like the part of like they've written a song, but then they're like too afraid to like put it out there. And like I think I have the opposite problem where you're like ready. You're like, listen to this. Yeah, I get a little too excited about it, and then I just like maybe put things out there before they're even ready. But at least I like have the confidence, I guess, to do that. Yeah. I think that's the better of the two problems to have. If I had to choose, I'd rather be like you. Because people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, how do you not? Like, I don't know. It's just like who I am. Yeah. No, that's really cool. I think that is great. And on that topic of like getting really excited about songs that you've written, I always like to ask what your favorite original song is. It's either, I don't know, 20-Fold's really cool. Like I like the direction that one has. Cutting It Close is like probably my favorite, I think. Just because it's more like personal, and it just has, I don't know, it's like it has like a nice feel to it, and I feel like it like really captured a time in my life, like the time in my life that I wrote it. So yeah, I think that one's my favorite. That's really cool. Was that one of those ones where it all came together really quickly? Yeah, that one we wrote the initial idea. We actually wrote the entire song because that one I wrote with my old producer, and we wrote it all in one day. It was actually the first song we ever wrote together, and we had only met the day before that. And then like the next day he was like, do you want to work on a song together, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, that's so scary because I had never like collaborated with anyone before. And I was like not confident in my collabing abilities. And then I went over there and he had kind of like the instrumental part like figured out. And I was like, oh God, like that's the part that I usually do when I write the lyrics. So like this is going to be a disaster. And then he just kept playing it, and something just came to me, and I was like, oh wait, I have lyrics and a melody and everything that we need for this. And so then we recorded it, and that was that. And then we kept working together. That's
awesome. That's a really good introduction to collaborating. Like,
I know
it went so well. I mean, it definitely could have gone worse.
Yeah.
So the fact that it went well is really great, and probably helpful for your career too. It would keep you open to working with people again, not like scare you off.
Definitely.
Nice. Okay. Question opposite to that one. And you don't have to choose. You could not answer, or you could choose something that you're working on for this. But is there a least favorite song of yours that maybe just didn't come together as you hoped, or maybe it just maybe one part of it frustrates you? It doesn't have to be like, I hate this song, but like, which one is your least favorite?
I think my first project that I put out is like my least favorite, but I feel like that's the same for like a lot of artists.
Sure. But that's okay.
Like I've just like really progressed past that point. And like my first like EP that I put out was just me, and I didn't really get any help from anyone else. And so I guess in a way it makes it like special, but at the same time, like now that I've worked with different people, I'm like, oh my God, the potential that this has, like it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also Lovesick. Like I really like that song, but I hate the album artwork on it. So that is like one of my most like regretful like decisions, because it's just like such bad quality, and it's like one of my most popular songs, and I have to look at it so often.
Did you do it yourself, or where did the artwork come from?
No, my friend did it, and like the artwork itself is really good and I really like it, but it just like didn't transfer over well to
digital.
Spotify. Yeah. And like there's like a border on it too that I'm like not crazy about, but that was like my own choice, so that was just dumb on my part.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, artists are always nitpicky about their own stuff, so you're definitely like more critical. I mean, I think it looks cool. I mean, I get what you're saying about it being like, I didn't, transfer to digital very cleanly.
Yeah.
But that being said, sometimes that look of like the lower resolution, kind of cut and pasty with the border, some people go for that on purpose. So
yeah, you're right. I kind of like
could lean into it.
Yeah. It's funny because the rest of my stuff since then, like, or everything honestly that I've released is like a film like picture, except for that. And I'm like, oh God, I could have really gone with that trend, and I just really missed it, but it's okay. We'll fix it.
That's okay. I think you just live with it. I think you live with it. Don't change it.
You learn. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, speaking of like, mistakes or regrets or feeling like you could have done something better, it's obvious to anyone who makes music or art that it can sometimes be like a frustrating process, like whether it be the actual creation of the art or like trying to find success with an audience or something like that. Mm-hmm. How do you find motivation when you're feeling down or when you're feeling stuck?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I went through like really intense writer's block over like quarantine.
Yeah.
Like super bad. Like there was a good like 6 or 7 months where I just could not write anything, no matter how hard I tried. And it was just like so annoying. And I was getting so hard on myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give up. And there's been a couple points where I've said that, like, whether it be like the fact that I can't write a song in the moment, or like I'm having complications with like the people that I'm working with. And then somehow, like right when I get to that point, something like clicks in me, and then something really good happens. like right after my writer's block, I wrote my entire album in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And because I just had been like holding in all this emotion for some reason that like something was blocking me from like releasing it all. And then as soon as I was like, I give up, then everything was like, oh, here you go. But like I guess every time I like reach like a low point in like my music career, something happens where it just like keeps me going somehow. So hopefully that continues to happen, or maybe I won't even hit a low point anymore because I know that like my confidence is building in what I'm creating.
Yeah, each time it happens, you know, you could get yourself out of it again.
Yeah.
So you feel better about it. It will happen less. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny, talk to a lot of people about how quarantine went for them as like a musician. And it is pretty common for a lot of musicians not to actually write that much. It felt like there was a lot of pressure on artists and musicians to be like, oh, you have all this time now. You better write. You better come up with new stuff. Yeah. Whereas like at the same time, I'm like, there's so much shit going on. Like we're going through something here. Like
I know
people just expected music to be made. And, you know, some people did, but a lot of people, I think like you, couldn't make it happen. And that's perfectly understandable in my opinion. I'm like, just because there's more time doesn't mean it's right to make art, you know?
Yeah. I think it just like everyone's mental health just took like a dive. And I don't know, for some people, I guess that could like help their writing process. But for me, if I'm like really depressed, like I can't do anything. Like I can't write anything about how I'm feeling because I don't even know how I'm feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes perfect sense. And I also like kind of the way you described, not quite like saying I'm going to give up, not really meaning it, but it's sort of like you give yourself permission to like let go of the pressure and like let go of the self-inflicted pressure as well. Say like, I don't have to do this. I think that is a really freeing thing. So that makes sense too.
Yeah. It's so like, I put so much pressure on myself. It's so bad. Like I'll make up like these, like, they're just not even real deadlines in my head, but I'm like, I have to get this out by this date. And then if something's falling behind, I'll like start to freak out. And then I'm like, dude, this is not even a real thing. Like I can just push it back. This is like I'm self-managing right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just like way too hard on myself. I'm like, this is so unprofessional of me. And I'm like, okay, well, it's just me. So
yeah. You got to have both. You got to have the balance. It's good that you have some of that in you. It's like you do need to keep on some track. You know, you don't want to be never getting anything done, but then you don't want to push yourself too hard. So that's definitely like a dilemma for a lot of artists and musicians, I think. Just like I think figuring out that balance.
I think that will take like the rest of my life to like continue to navigate that balance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's true for really anybody. I mean, even if you're not like making music or art, like just getting things done, like obviously there's like, if you have a job or something, there's other people involved or like a boss or whatever. But at the same time, like you could always quit your job if it's making you unhappy. Like there's always a choice to force yourself to do something versus like, you know, letting yourself off the hook if it's too much or if it's not good for you anymore. So
right.
That's definitely a balance. So we're getting pretty deep into it. I want to make sure I get to the main question of the podcast, which is somewhat vague on purpose. You can take it however you want to take it. But for you, Chloe, why do you make music? What do you think is the point of making music?
Wow. Honestly, nobody's ever asked me that question before.
Yeah, and it's kind of simple, right? Like I'm like, that's why I started asking. I was like, it's fun to talk about the why. A lot of people ask about the how and the what of music, like but like I like to ask like what makes you keep doing it? It's obviously can be rewarding and frustrating, but something about it like keeps bringing you back to writing songs and making new music, you know. And it doesn't have to be like an eloquent, beautiful answer. It could just be like, I just like it. You know, some people are just like,
Yeah.
it's just fun. It's what I do. So however you want to answer it is good.
I think like if you had asked me that when I like first started making music and first put out my like projects, like my EP, I would have said like I just want like people to be proud of me, which is like kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of sad, but
that's okay.
Now I feel like I've like as I've grown as a musician, I've just made like so many amazing connections with people, and like I wouldn't have the people in my life, like probably like the closest friends in my life, had I not like put out that first project. And like I've just really grown to like love making music and love creating new things.
Yeah.
So I think I just like, it just makes me happy, and I like want to like do things that make me happy.
That's perfect. That's beautiful. And your first answer was good too. I mean, it makes perfect sense to want to have people be proud of you for like making something or doing something. I mean,
yeah,
that's something I think we all want. So
yeah,
even that's valid. And hopefully, I don't know, have you been playing any live shows lately? I mean, I know we're sort of getting back into being able to do shows.
yeah. I haven't since the pandemic. I haven't played I've played a couple live sessions, which were cool, but I am like, there's a show in the works coming up.
Oh, cool.
In November. Well, because of my album, it's really hard for me to be like focusing on live stuff right now. But I should be done or like have more free time around November, and I'm releasing a single in November, not from the album. It's just like a leftover song.
Okay.
But I'm releasing that in November, so I'm going to have a little like show to go with it just for like funsies. And then after that, I'm probably going to get the ball rolling more with live stuff, just because that's like what I really love to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I have like a new manager. You actually interviewed her. She's Donna from Alt Angeles.
Oh yeah, Donna's awesome. That's cool.
She's managing me now, and she's great. She knows what she's doing, so she's gonna make it happen.
Hell yeah. I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah. So you say doing live shows is really what you love. So you love that even more than the recording, producing aspect.
I think so. It's more like instant gratification.
Yeah.
So, like recording is a lot of like hurry up and wait, which I really like. It's been a struggle for me to like get used to that, because I am such like, if I have an idea, I want it to like happen immediately.
Yeah.
So, and even just like you make the song and then you have to wait to record it, and then you recording, you have to wait for someone to mix it and master it, and then you have to like submit it to be distributed, and like that takes a while, and then it's out, and then by then you're just like, well, I don't even like this anymore. Like, but
totally.
Yeah. So live shows are definitely more fun, because it's like you can just share something and then people are like, oh my gosh, that was cool, or I hated that, but either way,
yeah,
you're still getting feedback immediately from it. So yeah,
I love that. That's good. And so we've got the new album coming out hopefully soonish. Are any of the songs you put out recently going to be on the album, or are they all kind of one-off singles then?
They are all one-off singles. They were supposed to be part of an EP. I was going to release it before the pandemic. But then once the pandemic started, I was like, I don't know when this will ever be normal again. So instead of just putting everything out and then just like not releasing anything forever, I was just like going to space them all out and kind of like keep myself relevant in a way.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of worked out nicely, because I have one more song to release, and then I'm going to start releasing stuff from the album. So it kind of like worked out nicely, like spaced out nicely.
Cool. And what's kind of, besides releasing the album, getting back to playing shows, what are your kind of goals going forward? What do you hope to achieve in like the near future? Is it just, growing an audience? Is it working on the next album after that? Where do you want to go in the next couple of years?
I'm definitely trying to work on growing my audience. I have like a good digital audience, I would say. Like streaming numbers are pretty decent.
Yeah.
But as far as like live stuff, it doesn't really like match up as much as I would like it to. So I'm trying to kind of like immerse myself more into like the live scene and get like a good live following. So that's definitely a goal of mine. I'm also trying to sign to a label with this album. So that's like probably my top priority.
Yeah.
Which will be exciting and cool and fun. And also tour. I would love to go on a tour.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm sure the process of finding a label will be interesting. I've never gone through that. I wouldn't know. It sounds fun, exciting, and probably scary, frustrating.
Definitely. I kind of have already put out some feelers for it with the demos that I have. And then I started working with my producer, and he was like, he is like a very talented man, has worked with a lot of like bigger bands, and he has a lot of connections to
nice
labels and stuff. So he's like willing to help out as much as he can. And then he's also just giving me advice on like how to go about it. So I have some good people in my corner to kind of help me through that process.
That's great. That's really great to hear. Well, we're towards the end. Speaking of great people in your corner, I always ask if you could, not mandatory, recommend another musically creative person or artist that I could interview in a future episode.
Yeah. My guitarist, Adrian, he's in a band called Modern Animal, and they're super cool. It's just him, but he plays live with like a band.
Yeah. Cool.
But he's super cool, very talented man. I also am working with another dude named Andrew Pham, and he's in a thing. I think it's just a solo project as well, but it's called Yours Andrew, and it's really cool as well. So,
oh, cool. Always love to talk to a fellow Andrew. So,
yeah.
Cool. Great. I am excited to check out their music and hopefully talk to them. That would be cool. I have one more question, but before I ask, do you have anything you wanted to add or say that we didn't get to?
Honestly, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, we did good. We're good. I just like to check at the end, just in case. Sometimes people like are holding something in the back of their mind, like they meant to say to an earlier question or something.
Oh, right.
So just want to check. All good. My last final real question is, when was the last time a piece of music, could be, a recorded piece of music that you listen to on Spotify, could be a concert, any sort of musical listening experience gave you the chills?
Jeez. Like the first answer that came to my head is going to be like, it's so conceited.
That's perfect.
But
always go with that.
Yeah, we were recording 2 days ago, and I have like the most talented people like recording on my album, and I have never had this many people like work on a project and like have faith in a project like this before.
Yeah.
So I was already feeling like a type of way, and then we were recording this one song that like means a lot to me, and they were tracking like drums, bass, and guitar like all live in the same room, and I'm just like listening on the other side, and they didn't know like how to end the song, so they just kind of kept going, and it just the longer they were going like with the chord progression and just like their they were improvising, and it just like gave the song like a whole new like feeling, and I literally like started crying.
That's awesome.
Like I got like the chills, and I like got all like emotional about it, and I was like, damn, like this is gonna be like something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I recorded it on my phone because I like didn't want to forget it, and I just have been listening to it so much. I'm like, wow, this like they just really like brought it to life for me, and it blew me away.
Oh yeah. That is awesome. And I don't think that's conceited at all. I think it's great. One of my earlier questions was like, when something you're making is good. And that's like perfect example. Like if your own music, the project you're working on is giving you the chills, then it's probably going to be pretty awesome. And that's pretty much all I got for you. Chloe, thanks for being on. Keep making cool shit. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And we always end with a high five, even though it's virtual. It's still fun to do. So I'll count down from 3 and then we'll high five.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
That sounded together, but I know that it's probably not going to.
It's almost never on time, but I love it. I just love it. Alrighty. Thank you for talking. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Turn something into nothing. Been dreaming of you. She's wrapped around your finger. What a beautiful view of you. This fool's a dime a dozen, a vision of youth. She's thinking he's a keeper. I guess she's a fool too, for
Hello, dear listener. Thanks for checking out this episode of Sound for Thought. I know there are a gajillion podcasts out there for you to listen to, and I appreciate you giving this one a shot. If you enjoyed it, go check out another episode. Maybe you'll discover some more new music from an artist you've never heard of before. If you've got some extra few spare seconds in your day, don't forget to click on that subscribe or follow button on Spotify or whatever platform you're using. If you've got another few moments, you could give us a review and some stars on Apple Podcast. Thanks again to Chloe for coming on the show. She was a fantastic guest. Go follow her on Instagram at Cloford and keep up with her music. Go stream the new single, Cutting It Close. And I know another single is coming out in November real soon. Her album should arrive sometime in 2022, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks, as always, to my dear friend Aiden Danzy, the Judd Zingle Project, for our theme and backing music. Follow our whole team on Instagram at Redefining Records to keep up with this show, get new music recommendations, read album reviews, music rants, and features on indie artists, and so much more. Lastly, the best thing you could do to support us would be just tell your friends about this cool indie music podcast called Sound for Thought. Maybe they'll check it out and they'll think that you're cool since you found it and recommended it. Either way, I think you're cool for listening, and I appreciate you sharing it. Thanks again, and I hope you discovered something awesome today and you go out and keep finding new music.
This has been a Redefining Records production.